I've been wanting to make a Storytime sort of video for a while now. This is new territory for me, and I'm not sure how it's gonna go, but this whole YouTube thing is new ground for me anyway. I figured I'd just toss some ideas at the wall and see what happens. I gotta start somewhere, so we're gonna start here. The real question I've been struggling with is, what exactly should I talk about? I've written 3 different scripts at this point, and I've been struggling to figure out a style I can be proud of. Script writing and perfectionism are a match made in hell, I tell ya. As for a subject, that's not a hard one to figure out. I have it right on my arm. This is my first and only tattoo. Getting it was not a decision I took lightly. It is an almost permanent alteration to my body, after all. But I thought it fit the criteria of a first tattoo pretty well, that being something important that isn't somebody's name. Anyhow, takeaway here is that if I'm gonna carve something into my skin permanently, it's gonna be for a damn good reason. First question to answer is, who? This little devil is named Sho. He's the main character of the indie action game Slave 0X. Most of my friends see me as an action game connoisseur. What with my 200 hours in Devil May Cry 5 and my platinum trophy collection in Bayonetta 1. But this game scratched my action itch like an expert masseuse. It had a death grip on my attention span when it first came out, and I played the hell out of it. I highly recommend it if you're an action game player like myself. Anyways, I wouldn't make this video if that was the long and short of it. Another guy with a video game tattoo. Big whoop. So please, now that our setup is out of the way, allow me to get into the story proper. It was a cold Canadian night in March 2024, a dark, rainy Tuesday. The rain moved like mist in the whispering wind, dancing in the lights of the lampposts. I was crossing an unlit, empty parking lot towards my apartment with a relaxed gait. I've been drinking. Tuesday is karaoke night at the bar across from my apartment complex, and I stayed out right until the 2 a.m. close with my friends and coworkers. The rain picks up. I aim my umbrella towards the wind to better shield myself. It's been raining for almost a whole week straight. I hate the rain. I trudge through the concrete void of the parking lot back to my apartment building. The back door gives off a warm, inviting glow that cuts through the dark. That door, however, is not my destination. Off to my right is a set of grated steel stairs that lead down to a different door, this one with all the invitation of a prison cell. I collapse my umbrella and make my way downstairs, hoping I don't have another flood on my hands after all the rain. I enter my small apartment and flick on the lights. No flooding to worry about yet from the looks of things. I recall dealing with the first time my apartment flooded. The storm drain at the bottom of the stairs overflowed with rainwater and seeped into mine and my neighbor's apartment. It reeked of sewage for weeks. I shudder at the memory. My eyes drift to my apartment's newest threat to my well-being, an electrical outlet near the kitchen counter. The socket formerly kept my fridge powered but began hissing like an alley cat with a bad temper. My fridge was currently plugged into a different outlet via extension cable. I kept my toaster plugged into the angry outlet, since I figured it wouldn't draw much power, if any. I sent a message to my landlord about the outlet as well, since I have a penchant for not causing electrical fires. I was promised a replacement outlet. That was a week ago. I take off my jacket, put away my umbrella, and yawn, reminding myself just how late it actually was. The alcohol was also doing a good job of making my bed more enticing. I make my way to my bedroom, my warm red bed sheets calling out to me with their siren song. I'm about one step away from falling into the abyss of sleep when my eyes fall on the 2 monitors of my computer. A smile comes to my face and I snap from the trance my bed had me under. Exhaustion's one thing, but addiction? that's a whole other beast. I boot up the computer, causing it to gently whir to life. She's an old girl. I built her myself about 5 years back before I moved to the city. My desktop comes into view, showering the darkness of my room with bright neon colors. With deftness, I open up 2 applications from my desktop, Discord and Slave0x. I scroll through Discord and find a small group of my friends all in a call together. I join them. Slave0x might not be multiplayer, but I can at least enjoy the game and the rest of my night in the company of friends, rather than on my lonesome. The night dragged on as I played through the game. I've been stuck at a part where you have to beat up 2 tough enemies at once, and I wasn't keen on the idea of letting them best me. It was around the time I finally won that I started to smell smoke. My bedroom doesn't have a door leading to the living area. It's a single hallway that I blocked off with a blackout curtain to keep the light of morning out while I slept. After the flood, peeling back that curtain felt less like greeting the day and more akin to unveiling my new horror of the day. Today was one of those horrors. I peel the curtain away and see the electrical socket engulfed in flame. What was once a hissing alley cat had transformed into the roaring inferno of a lion. The outlet snaps and pops occasionally like a firework, adding to my mounting stress. I go wide-eyed, feeling myself sober up immediately as my mind races into overdrive. With my adrenaline pumping, I make another bad decision and approach the fire. My toaster was still plugged into the outlet. While there wasn't much I could do to stop the blaze at this point, I figured removing all electronics from the outlet would help at least. Or maybe I just didn't want to buy a new toaster. I couldn't tell you. Panic's a hell of a thing. I yanked the cable out of the wall, causing the outlet to hiss and crackle at me like I had stolen its next meal. Not wanting to push my luck any further, I bolted towards the front door of my apartment and shakily called 911, getting my jacket on. I got a hold of the fire department's line quickly. I relayed the situation to them and got told to pull the fire alarm upstairs and evacuate the building, as if I needed any more incentive to get the hell out. I get out of my apartment, not bothering to lock my door, and pound my fist on my neighbor's door as loud as I can. I don't get an immediate response from him, which means at worst he's asleep and at best he's not here to deal with this shit show. Whatever the case, I don't stick around to find the answer, and I bolt upstairs through the back door to find the fire alarm. There's something unnerving about actually having to pull the fire alarm for a proper reason. Fire alarms are like looking over a cliff that leads to the ocean. When there's no reason to use them, they're at their most tempting. That absurd thrill of doing something you know you shouldn't do. It's not until you're told to do it that the charm is lost and reality settles in. I didn't search for the alarm for long. It was just inside, mounted on the left-hand wall, and I pull it with no hesitation. The screaming of bells can be felt throughout the whole building, reverberating off the 100-year-old brick. Over the cacophony, I can hear the shuffle of feet and opening of doors as half-asleep people begrudgingly make their way outside. I don't wait around for anyone. I'm outside first, scanning the street for fire trucks. Gradually, more people start joining me on the cold, wet sidewalk. I must have been wearing my distress on my face because people came up to me and offered support. Someone gave me a bottle of water to help calm me down. I thanked them, and I still fondly remember their kindness. We didn't wait long for the fire department. The telltale blaring of their sirens was heard echoing off the empty street before we could see the bright red of 1, 2, 3 fire engines, along with a smaller truck. The fire marshals, no doubt. I escorted the firefighters over to the basement entrance and showed them where my apartment was. I was greeted by my neighbor at the stairwell, and he thanked me for knocking on his door to wake him up before the alarm went off. I told him it was the least I could do. He kept me company as the firemen went to handle the blaze. I felt as if I was sitting and waiting for hours. While the fire was being put out, my adrenaline was still on high, stretching each second out to eternity. I don't know how much worse the fire got while I was away. I don't know how it started. And I don't know if I made things even worse with my decision to get my toaster out. As my mind sped through the questions, one of the firemen approached me and gave me some more important news. My smoke alarm wasn't working. In Canada, the responsibility of smoke alarm maintenance falls on the shoulders of landlords. Renters aren't held accountable for that. This makes my landlord 2 for 2 for nearly killing me in one night. His words struck me hard. Smoke inhalation is lethal, and if I had fallen asleep, I could have died that night from it. I realized then that the abyss of sleep I was staring into less than an hour ago could have just as easily become an abyss of death. What seemed like a bad idea at the moment, staying up longer and ruining my sleep schedule beyond reproach, wound up saving my life. I was allowed to re-enter my apartment soon after. To say it was haunting was putting it lightly. To get to the fire, the department had to rip out a section of the wall to get to the wiring. Chunks of drywall were scattered about on my floor. Scorch marks around where the fire started dyed the wall into an inky black. Anything I had on the counter at the time was coated in a layer of dark soot that would never come out. My feelings of fear and self-preservation turned to rightful anger immediately. All of this could have been avoided if my landlord hadn't ignored my request and did their job. One of the firefighters told me the damages totaled to around $2,500 and repairs would be costly. I don't know if he told me this because he expected me to fix it, but I didn't care enough to warrant it with a response. Now, I'm sure most of you would love to hear that this story has a happy ending, that I sued my landlord for negligence, got a hefty sum of money out of it, and lived happily ever after. While the story does have an ending that leaves me better off, I doubt many of you would find it satisfying. The apartment I was staying in was too convenient of a location for me personally, right in the beating heart of downtown. Plus, between this and the flood, I was emotionally done dealing with my landlord. So I offered them an ultimatum. Either give me a fully refurbished apartment on the upper floors and knock my rent down, or I sue. They chose the former. As of today, I live on the top floor of my apartment building. It's a larger space, rent is reasonable from them knocking the price down, and I never have to talk to them ever again. Of course, I do make an effort to fill out the tenant satisfaction forms when they reach my email box. We might be settled, but I'm sure as hell not forgiving or forgetting. Let's fast forward to July 1st of 2024. I booked an appointment with a friend of mine for my first tattoo. She runs her own shop, but she also bartends on the side, and that's how I wound up meeting her and becoming fast friends. I decided to place my trust in her and asked her if she would give me my first tattoo. To say she jumped at the chance is an understatement. She told me she's been mostly doing cutesy tattoos and was growing bored of that sort of design. She was looking to design something more on the macabre side. I showed her a picture of Sho. I could see the inspiration hit her like a freight train. The reference piece I decided on for the tattoo came from an online artist named Tioft, whose Blue Sky account I'll link in the description. I also got a quote from the game as part of the tattoo, a helpful reminder for any recovering perfectionist. Perfection isn't an ultimate goal. It is a wonderful and eternal rival. The tattoo process took about 3 hours. My nerves were kicked into gear the whole time, so we talked it up to take my mind off the needle constantly stabbing into my skin. My artist is one of those people who work all the time and think they should be working more. She's also a natural conversationalist, so she helped the time fly by and did everything in her power to make sure I was comfortable and okay. Just when the process was becoming unbearably painful was when she finished. She gave me some good advice on how I'm supposed to let it recover, gave me a goodie bag with cleanser and moisturizer, and a friend discount to $200, which we promptly spent a little bit of at the bar. I didn't drink any alcohol since my body was recovering from multiple miniature stab wounds, but I snapped a nice picture of it and made a post about it on Twitter. The devs of Slave Zero X, some of the voice actors, and the artist behind the original art all saw the post, and they all really liked it too. The devs also recognized me as the first person to get a Slave Zero X tattoo. And that's the end of the story here. So what did we learn? Never trust your landlord to do the right thing? Play Slave Zero X? Some good tattoo advice? All good lessons. And to those of you wondering, yes, my toaster did survive the fire, and I still use it to this day. Thank you for listening, and have a good night.